We need to do another intro. So, real quick, here's what I want everyone to do. Say your name and then say what the podcast is about in like 30 seconds.
I'm going to tell you right now, John, that I, Matthew Sin, will not do that.
Well, then what are you going to do?
I emphatically refuse to state that the purpose of this podcast is to determine which character in a particular series, piece of media, book, whatever that we're talking about is the best. Because we've already done this twice before. To do it a third time is a disservice to myself, to Brandon, and I think to you. It's just disrespectful at this point.
Well, you know, here at Your Favorite Character Sucks, that's what we do. We repeat the process over and over until we have multiple winners. And then at the end of the season, we have a best of the best episode where those winners go head to head to determine which character is the best from the entire season.
Well, here's what I, Brandon Lee Nash, will tell you about this program, YFCS Pod, as we like to call it on the socials. I'm just here to argue with my friends about dumbass shit that most people don't really care about, but we do, and that's why we're here.
I love it. All right, thank you guys. On today's episode, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. So this is the Gurren Lagann?
Whoa.
Can you say the full name?
Lagann?
Could you please state the full name of the anime?
Toppen Toppa? What is it?
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Toppen Toppa?
No, I apologize.
You're
that was
offending me.
unnecessarily.
What? How do I say it?
I believe the full name of the anime is Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
Okay, I will be shortening that up because I don't even remember.
TTGL.
TTGL. Okay, TTGL is even harder to say than Gurren Lagann, but I'll say it. That's the episode we're doing today. Matt's favorite anime.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to.
No. It's not only just my favorite anime. It's also, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this is just a theory because it hasn't been proven by research or study or anything like that yet. But I think it is the best anime of all time.
You know, I did watch a video on YouTube that said Gurren Lagann is the best anime.
Damn,
it was about a guy
I actually haven't heard anyone else say that besides Matt. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just haven't heard that many people as passionate.
Well, I will say that if you're talking about Gurren Lagann, like 14 years after it came out, at this point, right, or after it ended,
yeah,
you're a passionate fan. So anytime you read something about the topic or anything like that, people have very strong opinions, and usually they're very positive.
Well, I was introduced into the show by previous guest Michael Curry, who refused to come on for this episode.
Yeah, no, literally invited him, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good, bro."
He literally,
that's because
he showed me the entire series. We marathoned it. And so I thought he loved it.
When did this happen?
When we went to Japan.
Oh, wow. So y'all are in Japan, literally
we started it on the flight on his laptop and then continued watching it in the hotel.
Look at some like cherry blossoms, and he's like, no,
we gotta finish this shit.
He's just trying to introduce you to true Japanese culture.
Yeah,
on Gurren Lagann, yeah.
That was the only way I could be prepared.
Well, I will state before you say anything is that Michael Curry is a Gundam purist.
Oh, yes.
It makes sense that he wouldn't really like Gurren Lagann.
Well, I think he likes it. He just said, what, John, that there's no strong characters?
I think that is what he said. I think he said that he does like it. Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't feel like there's a character worth arguing for, which I disagree.
I also disagree. I think there's a lot of cool characters.
So I will say that I came to Gurren Lagann late, and it's because I was turned off by the images of Yoko, because I really don't care necessarily for like the like exploitation of female bodies in anime that exists in a lot of anime.
It's uncomfortably common.
Yeah, like, the parts of Dragon Ball Z that I never liked were like Master Roshi fucking like ogling at like a fucking 16-year-old girl. Like, I never cared for that stuff.
Slapping
oh yeah,
what's her name's vagina, right?
That was funny because it was innocent and she wasn't sexualized.
I guess
really.
That's true. He wasn't creepy.
She wasn't, but also she wasn't like fucking like insanely busty and like wearing nothing. Like, she wore clothes and she was an adventurer. She was a pretty strong female character.
But also, I feel like I should just state that there's nothing wrong with being busty and wearing skimpy clothes.
No, we've said that before, yeah, in our Naruto episode.
Yeah, it's just weird when you get get one female character and she's always like that.
Yeah, well, and let's get back to this. We need to get started with
because we haven't even
introduced. Yeah, so let's talk about our favorite characters, and then we'll get back to what we think about the show as a whole. But who's going first? It's going to be probably me or Bran, I would imagine, unless, Matt, you want to catapult because you love this anime? I don't know.
No, because I love this anime, I'll give it the respect
I can
it
go
deserves.
first this time.
All right.
I will be discussing Lordgenome, the Spiral King. Because, honestly, I love this type of character, which is
so weird.
The villain
for the greater good.
Yeah, exactly. Like after they're defeated, you learn about their true intentions, and they become a much more complex character. I feel like we've also discussed it with Sidious in the novels. Yeah. Also, something we haven't discussed in a previous episode, so I mean, you can cut it. But Lord Ruler in Mistborn.
Oh yeah,
I think there's a lot of similarities there.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
No, for sure.
I will point out that Gurren Lagann came out before the first Mistborn book, right?
Yeah, what I'm saying is Brandon Sanderson stole Mistborn from Gurren Lagann.
God dang it.
There's definitely a lot of parallels
there
between
really are,
Mistborn.
If you think
it's
about
actually very insane. And
like Kamina is what's his name? Who you
Kelsier?
Yeah, you think they're the main character, they're the one leading
Anyway, yes.
Coming back to Gurren Lagann. I just love this character who is a ruthless tyrant, but then you learn their reasonings, their backstory, and obviously their actions are still not justified, but a very complex villain who, in this case, actually becomes an ally in the end, which is also really cool.
So
I think that's going to tie into your character, right, John?
Yeah, I was going to say he has an impact. Lordgenome has an impact on my character. I will ask if you do like his name, how it's genome and how it's also Lordgenome, which is one word instead of two.
Yes.
Well, you like that?
Yes.
I don't see the issue.
I think it's kind of stupid.
What's the problem?
He's just Lordgenome.
I think his Zangief look and his name is kind of stupid, but I do like all the other stuff.
You're saying he looks Russian?
You don't like how he has
he's got a fucking huge ass hairy
spiral chest hair, dude? That shit's badass.
Yeah, he's got the spiral chest hair and then like bald head, but fucking mutton
also
chops.
Probably like the only brown character in the show.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Is that the case? Oh yeah, you know what?
Probably, right?
No.
Which doesn't make sense because his daughter,
the primary antagonist,
is
the
white
anti-spiral
as
is black.
Okay.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I mean, it is like pure black energy. Yeah, it's not even a shade. It's just
correct. He's just black. Period.
Darkness. Yeah. The antithesis of light or whatever, you know.
But yeah, why is Nia so white?
She's very pale.
Well, because I get it. Yeah. That is kind of fucking weird. Well, we'll talk about that later.
Anyway,
we'll talk more about Yoko.
Let's transition to you, John.
Stuff there. Okay, so yeah, I believe that as watching this show, I was not sure what to expect, and I'm glad that I came to it with an open mind, because if I had come into it with my judgments about what a good story is or what good characters are, I probably would not have liked it, because it is very different, and I think you kind of got to let the story come to you. You can't really anticipate what it's going to be. One of those characters that I really thought was a cool character is the character of Rossiu. I thought he was cool because, he's in this other underground civilization who you see, like, basically you get a different flavor of, like, how are people dealing with this living underground situation.
With the Beastman War situation?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to live underground because your life's at risk, and everyone tells you to fear the above for some reason or another, right?
Yeah.
And you have to, like, have persistence and courage and a drive and a passion to get above it and to, exceed expectations that other people put on you. And Rossiu, I don't even think he necessarily has that in mind. I think when they first find him, he's not grappling with, I want to get to the surface. He's grappling with, I don't like the system that is being placed on my people.
Was it religious in nature, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, and it was a decision to, I can't remember the exact number. Is it 100? They keep the population of the people underground to 100.
That sounds right, yeah.
And whenever another child is born, somebody, either the child or somebody else, has to leave the community and go up above. So they didn't
It's
even
like a
restrict
sacrifice or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't even restrict people from going up above, like Simone and Kamina's civilization. Instead, theirs was like almost like you're being condemned, and Rossiu didn't like that. So he wasn't even like trying to rebel and go above. He was just living under a completely different kind of oppression, a religious oppression that he wanted to buck. And yeah, Simone and Kamina come and they inspire him, and he decides to leave with them of his own free will and discover what's new out there. And, that could be the end of his story, because I think after that, he doesn't really do much except for just add a little bit of flavor, because he is this, religious guy and he's got his different beliefs and stuff like that. But what's really cool is when they flash forward, which again is part of the anime that I was like, did not see coming and really thought was cool. When they flash forward and they show how everybody has like settled in.
Yep.
Rossiu impresses me because of the way he changes. And, as a viewer, you're not going to love it. However, I think it makes total sense given his background. He's very logical minded. And I think a character like that would take Lordgenome's threat seriously and would, he's trying to keep people safe and he's trying to do the same thing, but he's trying to find a different way to do it. He's not even telling people you can't go out from underground, but he's putting different constraints on them, and he's like preparing to, leave the Earth's surface and stuff like that. So he's just thinking like very logically and businesslike. And I'll get more into like why I think he was written that way and why I think his character is essential for the whole message and theme of the show. But I'll stop there because this has been a long intro already. So Rossiu is the best character in my opinion.
Yeah, I like both those characters. They're both like sort of like I don't know, they go in opposite directions kind of, right? Because doesn't Rossiu eventually sort of become villainous in a way? Or becomes vilified?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Well, and the reason I said our characters are linked is because your character basically revives Lordgenome, and that's how he becomes an ally, because they need his ancient knowledge about the situation.
Yeah. Don't they like Futurama him, right?
Yeah, they
like
put his
or something.
They connect his head to a computer, which at first.
Well, who's they? It's
Rossiu
Leroy
does,
Littner.
Right?
Leron Littner.
Yes.
Is Leron the?
Leron is the homosexual
the
brother to Yoko Littner.
Yeah.
And I fucking love him. Honestly,
I like that character
I considered picking him as a character.
Yeah.
There's some. Well, we'll talk more about him later. But go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool side characters.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, I think for this series,
the
best character is Simone.
Wow. All right.
And I only say that because it is the way it is,
All right.
Never thought you'd choose a main character.
I didn't think you choose Simone.
The thing is, though, it's so strange.
I assumed you were going to go with Kamina, to be honest.
Me too.
Kamina is fucking awesome. But
you can argue that Simone is also Kamina, a little bit.
Yeah, they are definitely reflective of each other in many ways. But before we talk about the characters, let's talk about the world at large. Because I think they did a pretty interesting job of the progressive way that they construct the world.
When do you mean like the world or the universe?
World building at large, so just the whole environment that these characters exist within.
Well, but also the structure of the show, period.
Oh yeah, that too is really awesome.
Literally everything adheres to the spiral theme. So like
amazing.
The structure of the show, the environment, the universe, like the power, all that stuff, everything goes back to the spiral, which is fucking mind blowing. Like it starts very well done.
So tiny, right? It's just the beginning of the show is literally Simone only digging a tunnel.
Yeah,
that's the like smallest microcosm
with a drill.
Yeah, with a hand turning drill.
Yeah, he's a monkey with a rock. I mean, in terms of what we're seeing for this universe,
the technological progression.
Oh yeah, it's insane. But that's how it starts, and also how it ends.
Primitive. It's so primitive, but it's also like human nature to keep progressing and moving forward with that spiral, with that drill.
Yeah, that is, I think, one of the main things that the show is trying to convey. But I don't even think that necessarily there's... I mean, there are themes that are emergent, but I don't think that the writers went in with the mindset of like, okay, we're going to try and get this message across of this or this. Because
I think there is one message in mind.
There is a message, but I don't know. The show is not preachy. You know what I'm saying? There's no like... It doesn't come across as like trying to give a message. I think it tries to be entertaining more than anything else, which is why I really like the show.
For sure, but I think there is like a truth that they do hit on and really push home throughout.
For sure.
The truth is about perseverance and a drive for more and better, and also
human nature, I think.
Human nature and youth versus age and power. And there's a really cool commentary about like, and it's through my character, so I can get into it. This is what I wanted to talk about. So I think every character is exploring this idea of like what being in power and being in control does to you, which usually happens when you get older. Because you have more power and more control. Yeah. Is that when you're younger, you are less afraid, you are more driven, you have more energy, you're more ambitious, you're reaching for more. And then as you get older, you start to shift gears into more of a conservative, like preservation and conservation, and don't reach too high. We don't want to lose what we have. But for people who don't have power, there ain't nothing fucking to lose. You know what I mean? And so it really rings hollow to, when the bosses down in like the mine are telling Simone and Kamina like, hey, just fucking keep your nose down and do your job. There's nothing to benefit them to do that.
Simone is fine with that.
Yeah, no, Simone is, because he's not as bold as Kamina. Kamina brings that boldness out of him. Simone is more, he's the like, what is it? The like perseverance and the willingness to like grind stuff out and keep going, even if it seems bleak, he has the will. I think that's maybe why, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, because I know you like Green Lantern also. This series is very much about like will over what's possible.
Oh, it has nothing to do with what's possible. The only thing that is possible is what you think is possible.
Exactly.
Which is amazing. Yeah, maybe that is why I like it and why I like Green Lantern so much.
But once you become an adult, your worldview becomes more fixed.
Constrained, yeah, no, absolutely.
And your will, you're not willing to do as much as you were before, because you're too scared to lose what you have.
Well, yeah, and what you're saying is clearly demonstrated through the Spiral King.
Yes,
because he's already fought this war once before, and they were not able to solve the problem. Yes, and so he's lost that drive to keep fighting, and he's like, I'm just gonna have to keep Earth as safe as I can. There's no way to beat the anti-spirals.
Exactly, and so each of us fights this battle when we're younger, but then as we get older, we decide like the battle can't be won, but I can at least do this much. And we do the best we can, or we do what we think will preserve it. Or some people who are fucking greedy and pieces of shit really are just, they're really not trying to preserve it for humanity.
And that's why I think, the show does that
themselves.
so good too, because that's why I think it's really, it's not awesome. It fucking sucks when Kamina dies in the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
But when you think about the character of Kamina, he's actually like, you love him and he's an awesome character and you want to root for him and things like that. But he is a very flat individual.
Yeah.
He does the same things every single episode that he's in, right? Like the 6 or 7 episodes. But I think it's the fact that he that he perishes so early.
Yes.
So that fragment or that photograph of Kamina in the state of youth, which is reflected on Simone. That's why Simone is able to preserve that sort of youthful image and drive it forward.
Yeah, honestly, Kamina's personality would not have been sustainable.
Oh, no way.
No, Kamina is like Kurt Cobain, Tupac. Like he's the guy that, if he was like
for
No, I'm saying like if he was 50 years old, we would not remember Kurt Cobain the same way we do. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, for sure.
We remember that fire, same with Tupac. But like if they were 50 years old, like Tupac might have been like Trump has some good ideas. He's, whatever the other party said. I'm just saying there's some rappers that came out and said that shit and like really broke my heart. You know what I mean? Like
Kanye?
Fuck Kanye, but no, like 50 Cent. I mean, I'm not saying 50 Cent's Tupac, but Lil Wayne, yeah. Who basically are old men who have lost their spirit and are just about preserving their fucking wealth, dude. And so I think all of our characters do a good job of highlighting it, which is Lordgenome goes through it. Rossiu goes through it, and Rossiu shows us something that's really cool, which is we get to see the character have the fighting spirit and believe in that stuff. And then we get to see the character get power, and then we get to see that whole process play out where he's trying to preserve it and govern it and control it.
Honestly, I think you're right. Our
it.
three characters perfectly show that spectrum from each stage.
Except Simone. Simone, and it might be because of Kamina, Simone does not ever give up on that spark and that fire. He's the only one who does not fall victim to that process. But I think it's really cool because the show also, like from a historical, like civilization study, anthropology perspective, it shows how like revolutions eventually just go full circle and then become dictatorial again. You know what I mean? Like Lordgenome does it, and then Rossiu does it. It's like, you know, that passion. And it's also like old people just shouldn't have any fucking power, man. It should just be like, it should be young people calling the shots. Like anytime you got a government like ours where it's like fucking 70, 80-year-old men are the only people with power, then it's just, they're not going to push for anything. They're not going to push for progress. They're just going to try to preserve what they have.
Simone definitely breaks that mold.
Everyone needs to be willing to
step aside.
Yeah, like basically everyone needs to have like the George Washington mentality. You just do your brief time and then you're like, all right, I'm good.
Own some slaves.
Yeah, I was literally about to say, dude.
And then you retire and like harvest human beings' teeth for your own, and like you're all
That's
good.
the George Washington philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah, like if everyone just did that, society would be much better.
Oh my god.
I mean, I get that.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, damn. I was gonna say something, but fucking George Washington. God damn it.
Sorry.
Simone's definitely able to avoid that trap, and I think it's because he is a reflection of Kamina. Kamina had such a big impact on him, like through his like developmental stages, right? Because they were all like around that age whenever that he died in. There were like,
honestly,
after the episode where he died, there were like 2 or 3 really fucking depressing episodes, or maybe.
Well, yes, no, for sure. And you know what I honestly think it is? I think it's because he's simple. I think it's because he is not too smart, and I don't mean that to me. Simone. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that in like a Taoist philosophy way where it's like when there's a point where some philosophies believe like, you know, it's like an asceticism kind of idea where it's like you can get too fucking big for your britches and then you just get in your own way. You get in your own way. Like think about the characters that are successful on this series. They're very like go with your gut. Don't think about it too much. Just make a decision and fucking go with your passion. The characters who are very intelligent are the ones who start to become like dictators and assholes.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you're too smart, you actually weigh the odds. You can't just be pure hope.
You lose the ability to just will shit into action. Like when Kamina says, we'll just fucking combine the two mix.
Well, you still have willpower, but the willpower, like the will, you start to create, like we said, your own constraints. So it's like you will laws into existence that aren't real, that you just decided upon them. And you know, Lordgenome says like, oh yeah, we can't have 1 million people or whatever. Rossiu really buys into that, and he buys into it because I don't know. I feel like he's haunted by his past a little bit, and he wants to do things differently. So he's like, but then he basically ends up doing almost the same thing.
Yeah, isn't that how it always goes?
The most exaggerated version
with
of
the
that.
best of intentions. You say you'll be different, and then
But that's literally just the anti-spiral. He's the biggest example of that because their whole civilization reduced themselves to one person because they so firmly believed that, you know, spiral beings or whatever would eventually cause the collapse of the universe.
Right.
So their whole society was like too fucking smart for themselves, and then they fucking self-collapsed, right?
Yes.
Also, can I just say there's just a quick aside. As goofy as the show can be, I honestly think they did a better job of dealing with this issue than Thanos and
War. For sure.
Like when I hear Thanos saying his reduce the population shit, I'm like, you're an idiot. But in this show, I'm like, damn, this is like really intense.
Well, I'm not lying. When I was preparing for this, I was thinking about Erica's Thanos argument where she was saying like humans don't have the capability to stop consuming. So if you double the resources, they're just going to fucking double their appetites.
Yeah.
Well, not just double the appetites, but also those with power are going to hoard.
It's not going to be equal distribution.
Yeah, and so I mean, you know, Gurren Lagann kind of agrees with her. You know, the anti-spirals agree.
The anti-spiral agrees with her. Yeah.
Well, and I think that the series doesn't completely say that that's wrong, But, we have a character in Simone who is just hopeful that things can change and that they don't have to be that way. And also
and
Simone...
he gets out of the way.
Simone does the George Washington move, bro.
Exactly, steps aside.
And even though,
which Matt thinks is sad, but I love it.
I still hold by that the end of the series is the saddest shit in the fucking world.
You don't want to see Simone become the dictator.
No, thematically.
But why does Nia have to die, bro?
Because it's not just about governance. The whole anti-spiral thing is not like, oh yeah, you're going to get in charge and ruin things. It's that your desires, you have so much desire that you will consume everything and you'll stop at nothing. And Simone proves them right by working so hard to get Nia back. But he proves them wrong by letting her go.
Yeah, that's true.
He shows I can show constraint. And
you mean when he literally had the powers of God and could have resurrected everybody?
Yeah, I mean, and if he would have done that, he would have proved the anti-spirals right.
Yep.
And so the fact that he's able to let Nia go and the fact that he walks off and gives up power, he is supposed to serve as an example to all of us that you did your revolution, you fucking did your shit, you've made things better, and now you fucking step aside and let the next generation come to power.
It's like Ed giving up the alchemy.
Exactly.
It's essential. You have to be able to sacrifice it all.
But I also fucking hated that.
But it's good.
Dude,
It sucks for the character,
even more
but
sad.
story-wise, it's great.
I'm going to blow your minds, maybe. I think it's better than Ed giving up his alchemy.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, because it's on a grander scale. Yeah, of course.
I think that... No. Separating from your power is absolutely okay.
I love it.
If you get to spend the rest of your life with your wife or whatever, right? This person that you literally fought the embodiment of anti-life for and conquered the universe and became God for, and you had the power to hold on to all of that, and he had the ego, he just no ego. I think you're right about the
what
symbolism.
We want from a hero,
it's
but
so
rarely get.
But it doesn't make it any less sad. It's so fucked. This dude had to endure so much.
Yeah.
Why?
People who want power are usually the kind of like fucking megalomaniacs who are going to then think that they know best and not want to give it up. And Simone is not one of those people. He is a warrior. And this show is all about fucking young warriors. That's what it cares about. This show wants to show that they are the best of us, is people who have a drive and a passion and are young and that are willing to fight for anything. And the worst of us are these fucking old assholes who think they know better and, try to constrain us. I don't know. I think that Simone is awesome because he bucks that. But I think Rossiu is awesome because he shows us that. Like, we need to see his example to understand why Simone is so extraordinary. And, Lordgenome does the same thing. And Rossiu sort of goes back into the history books to pull Lordgenome and kind of use that to, do what he's doing.
And I would say that Simone and Rossiu are like very close mirrors of each other because you see both of their origins from the holes or their little villages that they come from. And
you know that they're both good intentioned.
Yeah, exactly. But Simone has Kamina, right? And in the same way, I think Rossiu does have Simone, right? Because
it's so weird because Rossiu is the flip of Simone. Lordgenome is kind of the flip as far as arcs of Rossiu.
Well, I was gonna say he is also mirrored because he's
mirrored as well.
He was that hero of the previous war, like 1,000 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Except obviously things played out differently.
He's Simone and Rossiu combined.
Yeah. I agree.
Dude, this show.
But Genome is, they didn't really elaborate too much, but it seemed like he tried to do it sort of like by himself.
Sure.
Whereas, Simone is not just him, it's all of Team Daiguri.
He is a team,
Simone cannot do it by himself.
Correct. And he knows that.
See, once again, going back to what you were saying, John, Lordgenome was a genius.
Yes.
Which hindered him.
Too smart for his own good.
So he's the Sasuke.
God damn it.
He tried to go it on alone and he couldn't do it.
Sasuke just wants power for power's sake.
No, he doesn't. He wants power to defeat his enemies. That's the only reason he wants it.
Lordgenome actually is very skewed, but he was still trying to save the planet.
I agree.
Sasuke wants power to defeat his enemies and then eventually to protect his village. He wants to be the most powerful.
I don't know if he cares about protecting the village, if I'm being honest.
He wants to become Hokage, which is bullshit. It's stupid. I hate that show, but...
No, but basically we can all agree then that if all these characters are fractal images of each other,
It's going to be very fucking hard.
Then the most
decide.
important part of the entire series is when Kamina dies.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the point at which all of the growth like begins to happen. Because if you think about this, the first 7 episodes is just mostly a little bit of world building
and a lot of just
and a lot of adventures, like just goofy ass adventures.
Yeah, just goofy mech fighting with beastmen.
That is 1/4 of the entire series, and there's nothing really happens except for just they follow sort of Simone, Yoko, and Kamina.
Oh yeah, no.
But then after he dies,
the flip once he dies, it ramps up so much.
And I think that's because it has to. I mean, because one, they only ordered 27 episodes or whatever, but
well, but also I don't think anyone is expecting that.
Oh no!
And
when he
that's
dies,
when you
it's
realize, this plot is a lot more intense than you thought.
Oh, for sure. Whenever he gets up, right? Doesn't he give like a fucking like thumbs ups or something, and then he just fucking dies?
Yeah,
yeah, he does. Yeah.
So you think he's good because you think he's dead at first. He gets out, you think he's good, and then he actually fucking
and you're
dies.
Like, the boy did it again, and then no, he's actually iced. And
then it's literally like one or two or three episodes of just,
I will say,
full fucking depression for the whole squad.
Yeah, and I will say, Kamina is sort of like the inspiration to have Simone hope for a higher thing. Simone has the work ethic and the drive, but he doesn't have the like goals. He wasn't goal oriented. The thing is, though, is Kamina only wanted to get to the surface because of his father.
Yeah.
And once he realized that his father was dead, he sort of lost his way too. He became sort of unmoored. But also, then Kamina is inspired by Simone. Because I remember in that moment, Kamina is remembering back to when Simone kept digging, when they were trapped or whatever.
Yep.
And he's like, I can't give up. Simone wouldn't give up. So even though Kamina does inspire Simone, Simone also inspired Kamina. Like they were essential for each other.
Yeah, because Kamina, obviously, even though they draw him as sort of like an older looking guy, he's only like a year or two older than Simone.
Not much older.
Yeah, he's still 16. So that's like basically that's a child.
Well, and Kamina, the whole reason he wanted to get out was because of regret, I think. I think because his memory about his father was that he was too scared. His father was like bringing him to the surface and he was too scared to go with his father.
Yeah, he said.
So,
yeah.
So he regrets that he didn't go, and he also remembers his father's hope for like a better life. And, that motivates him to face his fears, to face like the scary beasts above, and go after them.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, Rossiu is a pragmatist. Like he's very trying to do things and be very pragmatic. Like I said, when he's younger, he has to drive to achieve more. But then when he's older and he has power, he just wants to maintain the status quo.
So you think that was sort of laid out before him? Like he had no other path to go other than that one?
I think it's also showing a trap of like parenting. It's really about a generational thing where it's like you fight really hard to achieve something, but then you try to spare the next generation of that fight.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the series says that we are born to be fighters, and that we should not be shied away from that. We shouldn't have obstacles removed from us or hide from those obstacles.
That is a theme that is always present in the Gundam series. Is the cycle of war and peace and the involvement of the youth in the war.
But so know what though? I think it was this guy or it was another guy that I was watching. It was another YouTuber. I'll drop his name too. Uh-huh. That was talking about how most Gundam shows are very solitary. Like the main characters are always very alone.
Giga edgelords.
And this show is very group oriented,
which I love.
Everyone is like working together as a group, and Simone can't do it without Yoko and without Kamina. Which, by the way, we can talk about Yoko now, unless you'll have more to say about the world and the themes and stuff.
No, not really. I love the team in the end.
Like to run the huge, mech, they have 16 pilots or something.
Oh yeah, well, the last mech is just all the mechs squished together.
Yeah, so it's just impossible without his full team.
Yeah. It's literally just a bridge of a ship. And it's just like, it happens just like whenever fucking Kamina and him first make the Dai Gurren, when he just jams the fucking thing around.
I will say, even though there's so much meaningful stuff that happens on the show and so much comedy, that's my favorite fucking scene.
What, when he slams the little drill bot on his...
I'm not joking. I was kind of coasting through the first few episodes. Like, I was enjoying it, but I didn't love it. Uh-huh. When he slams what is it? Is it Gurren or Lagann? It's one of the pieces.
Lagann.
When he slams Lagann in his head and it doesn't work at first, I fucking was dying.
It's like off-centered.
Well, it's so funny, but also, you're sitting there and you're like, you fucking dumbass. Like, why would you think that would work? Where did you even come up with this concept? But then it does work, and it's all about...
because you're an adult, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You've lost sight of that.
Yeah, well, and what I was going to say, too, about calming his death, actually, I remembered I had one more thing to say, is that I think it's the show telling us, like, you can't revere the older generation too much, that you have to be able to move on without them. It's another echo of that lesson that we're learning, because I think he looks to Kamina too much. And I think the show is trying to tell us, like, we should not look to the older generations too much. We have to have the future in our own hands.
That happens in the show, though.
What do you mean?
Whenever Simone is, like, super fucking depressed after Kamina's death, and he's trying to, like, fight his way out of the funk, like, one of the ways he tries to do it is he says, well, I'm just going to become Kamina, because Kamina died for us. But then his fucking little drill, like, knew that wasn't, like, his authentic self or whatever, and it just said, fuck off or whatever.
Right, and so he forgets the older generation, his mentor or whatever, and becomes his own person. And so, I mean, the show is very
and then he ends up saving his squad. Like, in that moment. That's how he regained his power over Lagann, and he was able to...
Well, and I think love, right? He met, what's her name?
I think at that point it wasn't love, but a desire to, like, help someone who's also in a situation, of despair or, like some sort of desperate situation. So just his desire to help other people, really, is what it ended up being.
So here's what I like about Yoko, is that she already knows the fucking lesson before we even learn it, which is whenever they become comfortable and, like, are all, like, getting conservative and stuff and, like, starting to, like, basically become Lordgenome again, she fucking ditches out and becomes a teacher. She's already focused on the next generation.
Yep.
She's already ready for the next generation, bro. She doesn't want to be a part of the, like, new civilization that she helped build.
She wants to build up. Fought when she had to fight, and then she's like,
and now she's handing over the reins to the youth.
Yeah,
dude, that's badass.
You mean her transition from like a fighter, like sniper chick, into just
Here's what I don't like about Yoko is the way that she's drawn, and the way that every single shot with her has to show her tits
bouncing
jiggling.
Titties,
literally.
And to be fair, I mean, that is something that you don't like. But I will say that this studio really, really likes that kind of stuff. So dude, that's just the problem with all of their
things.
Yeah.
Do we need to follow up to this
with Kill la Kill?
With Kill la Kill?
I tried to watch
really
Kill la Kill,
in my opinion,
and there was too much of it. Too much of the titties again.
They're
like
the
that
fan
one
service.
turned me off.
Yeah, but it's a good show.
There was a scene with Yoko. She's in a fucking mech, and she literally turns her face. And when she turns her face, her fucking tits jostle. And I'm like, why did we need that animation?
Are you saying that's not how it works in real life?
It's absurd how much her tits move in this series. And also, like, even when she's a teacher, we go and see her in the school, and there's a shot. There's a scene where the principal is talking to another person. Yoko is not even part of the conversation, really. She's just standing there. But the frame of the scene is her tits on the left, 1/3 of the screen, the principal in the background, and the other person on the right, 1/3 of the screen. And I'm like, okay, she's not even in the conversation, but we have her tits as 1/3 of the screen. It's so insane. So yeah, I don't appreciate that shit.
Yeah, I think complaints about fan service are just going to be reiterated every time you talk about most animes, so
I guess
it just kind of is what it is.
But I do like Yoko.
I like Yoko as a character, though. She's awesome.
Yes, she's very brave.
She's very self-sufficient and independent. Like, whenever they first meet her, right, she's the one helping them, as opposed to the other way around. She's the one with the weapon. She's the one who's been above the surface.
She also, I think Simone is also heartbroken, I think that leads to his depression, too, which is that I think that when Kamina dies, Simone actually hates him for a moment before he dies, and that like brings forth even more remorse because he's sad. Like I hated him when he died.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And they did such a good job. That shit was so fucking sad, bro. I swear to God.
I will tell you, I did not expect him to die, especially after the episode where he like kisses Yoko. I was like, I did not think he was going to die after that episode.
Oh yeah, it's at that point you're like, these dudes don't give a fuck. They will kill off any character. Nobody's safe.
Right, and I think that's another good point of the show too. Is like death can happen, man. Like it's especially when you are so reckless and passionate and stuff.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
It might happen.
The building in the show is so good because up until the point where Kamine dies, there's basically no stakes. There's you don't ever think that anybody's going to die.
Characters get knocked hundreds of miles away and
just
still
goofy
survive.
Shit happens, and then it's like the switch just fucking flips immediately after he dies, and the stakes are suddenly so fucking high. Yeah. Like everything turns much more serious. It just dials up to fucking 11. It's so good. Like it's so crazy. The pacing of the show is so good.
Also, how fucking long is this show? 28 episodes?
27, I think. It's very short.
Episodes. It's a nice condensed series.
Come on, nerds. You know what it is. Every episode I get on here and beg you to follow us and like our stuff and blah, 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 blah. If you haven't done it by now, then you're just lazy. Twitter and Instagram at YFCSPod. Hit the subscribe button. Like, rate it. If you want to be extra, you can review it. Just a little thing like, hey, this is an awesome podcast. Click, reviewed, done. All right, not going to waste any more of your time. Back to the show.
Brandon, I think we talked. I mean, I've said everything I think I need to say about Rossiu. I think he's a very essential character because he shows us that whole cyclical, revolutionary thing, and he gives us he gives us a reason to respect Simone's character more because of that. Do you want to say more about Lordgenome? I think he served a similar purpose, but then
well, I mean, so like the whole first third of the show is the Beastmen War, and that's all a result of Lordgenome's.
Yeah, did he create the Beastmen?
Yes. Okay, so that's what's very interesting. That's why I was saying he's a genius. He created Beastmen so that Earth could have a life form that didn't generate spiral energy.
Yeah.
And so that was like his defense. He said, we'll still have a society, but it's going to be beasts so that it won't attract the anti-spirals.
Holy shit.
So he used the beast to keep the remaining humans underground so that they were hidden. And so that's why I'm saying, like, his techniques were obviously terrible. He is a tyrant.
Well, but also...
But he did want to protect Earth.
Maybe it would be better if we weren't on the top of the fucking food chain because, the resources we do burn, like, we're destroying our planet and stuff, and
exactly.
Whatever.
So his eyes, the only way to protect humans was basically to suppress them.
Yeah.
Because it's once they are succeeding that they generate this spiral energy.
Yeah.
What's cool about that is that the whole point of the show is that like humans persevere and they overcome whatever obstacles are put in front of them eventually.
Mm-hmm.
He made humans stronger by depriving them and by putting such an obstacle in front of them. He made them even stronger. And so maybe Lordgenome's like his plan actually was what was able to develop a hero strong enough to defeat the anti-spirals,
I mean, that does also go back to the, status quo, which is like if humans just kept living in this comfortable
Rossiu's
existence, they would eventually become too powerful and also be defeated. But by forcing them to struggle, this wasn't his plan, I don't think.
Oh, absolutely not.
But by forcing them to struggle, they were finally able to be strong enough.
Same thing happened with the anti-spiral, dude. They just always rise to whatever challenge that they're presented with, the youth, that is. So it doesn't matter how powerful you are, they're going to become even more powerful.
There's another statement, too, which is that, like, the power that gets generated once you become powerful and, like, lazy and you don't have anything to fight for anymore, the things that you start to create are, like, pale comparisons to, like, real passion and real creativity and stuff because, like, the mechs that Rossiu's tech is creating are not as good as the, like, spiral mechs. They can't withstand the attacks of like the anti-spirals and stuff,
Yep.
So it's like it's also saying something about like, when you become fat and lazy, like even the things you invent don't have the same spark in them.
Yeah. Well, this idea, I mean, also exists within like Buddhist philosophy and reaching enlightenment, which is...
It's funny you say that.
If you're too comfortable, you don't strive to do better because you're doing fine. You have to have some struggle to overcome in order to make you better.
You know what's funny about that? In my notes, it says Simone is Buddha. I
There
literally
we
wrote
go.
that. I wrote that he was a disciple and that he went through it and then he overcomes it and then he lives it. Like then he becomes
for
like
sure.
a living Buddha. He becomes a
Yep.
living Buddha.
And you can, and once again, you can only really reach enlightenment if you don't want it. And at no point did he want it.
Right.
He didn't want power ever. He just did what he had to do.
Well, and he's willing to let it go once he has it.
Exactly.
It's fucking cool, yeah.
And the last thing I'll
And his
say
power,
about
of course, is his friends and his team and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it's people and it's love and it's friendship
Yep.
and it's it's
Which sounds fucking cheesy, but within the
No.
context of the show, it's fucking awesome.
no because you literally need those things to survive in this world.
Yep.
the last thing I'll say about the Lordgenome is in the end, he is their ally, like I said, and he also ends up sacrificing himself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What
he
does
does.
he do?
He becomes like their final weapon, right?
Oh, I think you're
he
right.
becomes a
He
giant
becomes
drill.
the drill. Yep.
And so like
Dude.
I think he's been reinvigorated by
The youth.
this new generation.
Yes.
And he's like, you're right. This is what it was all about, defeating the anti-spirals. And he sacrifices himself to help them. And I think that's an awesome send off for him.
Dude, that last fight is so sick.
So, I mean, again, the message about the youth versus the old, does it mean, I mean, the old need to step aside, but also like allow the youth to use them? You know what I mean? Like just,
Well, yeah,
you
and,
need to
like,
step aside and become a tool for the youth.
They still needed his wisdom,
His wisdom.
his
yeah,
past
you're right.
experience.
Yep, absolutely.
But they had to be the ones taking action.
Correct.
Yeah, they had to be the ones making decisions. He has to be the wisdom and the tool.
Yep.
Yes.
Dude, it's so
God
sick.
damn.
The show is so sick. I'm telling
That's
you,
fucking
bro.
good, dude.
It's got so many layers. And even in, like I'm saying, the action scenes, like the last scene where he's fighting the anti-spiral, to get
it's
to the
wild.
planet, dude, they're in the enormous
Yeah, is
Geiger
it not-
mech or whatever, but they keep
Is it not
having,
the size of the universe or some
it's
bullshit?
the size of a galaxy.
They throw galaxies.
They're
as
standing.
weapons.
They're so
It's
large
so
that they're
absurd.
standing upon the dense star matter of a galaxy.
God damn it.
Because the
dude, I
stars are
love
so
this shit.
dense, it can support their weight, right?
It's
and
so
the gravity is
absurd.
pulling them towards it, and they're throwing galaxies like shurikens.
It's so absurd. All
But
right, man, I'm sorry.
whenever he pushes in towards the planet, right? It's a combined effort from like all of the different mechs because he keeps getting smaller and smaller and
Oh,
smaller
yes.
when he goes back down. Because at the end, it is the team and stuff like that, but the power, comes from the individual as well.
Well, they thrust him forward, right?
They thrust
Or
him
something.
forward, and then he gets into a literal fucking fist fight with the anti-spiral at the very end.
Yeah, you still need a leader.
Exactly. Well, it goes back. I think it's good because at the beginning, it starts with sort of Simone, and in the end, it's Simone, which is kind of cool.
Honorable mentions. I have a couple that we haven't talked about.
Yeah,
I think.
go for it. I have a couple side characters I think are pretty cool. Well, I'll start us with the
oh God.
what?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Who do you think the best side character is?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Leron Littner's really cool. We can talk more about
awesome.
him.
Yeah.
I think he's great. Maybe some of his stuff is a little bit like homosexual, like stereotype and stuff like that as humor, which that might not be great, but I think he's also a homosexual character that you can see as very essential and very influential on
He's
the
the
society.
tech guy, right?
He's the tech guy, but he's also like he helps like connect the Lordgenome and stuff, but he's also like he's not really down with like the evil stuff. Like when Rossiu starts doing stuff that's a little fucked up, he's not super excited about that either. So he's just really skilled and really valuable to their team. And I don't think that his like homosexual advances, yes, they're like comical, but so are some of the heterosexual advances too.
for
Like
sure.
the whole like them trying to like see them naked, the girls naked and stuff like, all that stuff is silly. I don't guess, I don't know.
It's just like
I think
dumb
the,
anime shit. Yeah.
the homosexual jokes are a little homophobic. It's like we're supposed to laugh because it's like, oh shit, don't let the gay guy kiss you or whatever. But I think that to show his character in such a light as being essential and really skilled and stuff, and show that like despite his homosexuality, like it doesn't really affect his relationship with the people around him, even though he's so like forward with his like advances and stuff or his like silliness. I think that's cool. But my favorite side character is Viral.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, well, talk about Viral, Bran.
I mean, just another frenemy character. I feel like we always hype those up. He just started as like the Beastman rival to Kamina and ends up becoming like a key part of their team by the end.
Yeah. He gets the like truth beaten into him.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing too that's cool about him is that he has that same competitive edge that the humans have, which is like he's getting beaten, but it only makes him want to try harder.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Kamina of the Beastmen, basically.
Exactly.
Sure. And then when he still can't win, he finally realizes like, oh shit, they're right. And then he joins them, like he converts. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that make these characters cool is that they like, I don't know, they don't really have egos.
Yeah.
You know, they're always willing to, after a little bit of resistance and stuff like that, they're willing to, because they're all good people. I think
even Rossiu in the end is like, I fucked up.
They're all good people with different ideas of how to deal with this existential threat, but they're all willing to come together at the end to team up against it. That's what makes it cool.
Now, I mean, yeah, Rossiu, I would say the most fucked up thing he does is not even his plans. What does he do? He tries to like throw Simone under the bus, basically. He has Simone arrested and like...
during the post-time skip situation. I remember they boxed, right?
Yeah, he basically blames Simone for like being too aggressive and forward and says like, you know, labels him like a criminal and has him arrested. So, I mean, he's a little of a douchebag. I don't think he's like full evil even though.
No.
He does just become dictatorial a little bit.
Well, also one thing about him is that he's a beastman, right? So he doesn't have any spiral energy, but he's still a part of...
Oh, Viral?
Yeah, is he not?
Yeah, I was talking about Rossiu.
Oh, we're talking about Rossiu, yeah, okay.
But yeah, Viral, he can't use the spiral energy stuff.
But you know who can use spiral energy and is also a side character? That's very predominant throughout the entire show?
Yes, say it.
Fucking Buddha.
Yes.
The little creature, right?
The fucking pigmole or whatever?
Yeah.
That dude's don't they have to like eat his ass at some point? Not
Yes,
joking.
they literally eat his ass to survive.
Because they were running out of...
I'm so confused.
But he is full of spiral energy.
Yes. Because he's got a little spiral tail. And that's it's all like ties in, you know what I'm saying? He's just a microcosm in the storytelling and the plot. Yeah, just another link in the chain is what I'm saying. But I mean, hey, he's the homie. Even in the like epilogue shot where Simone's like giggle old, Buddha's still there with him.
So many like every character too is so stylized on this show.
I love the animation on the show.
It's like it reminds me we were talking about Inuyasha, how every character is so distinct, and it's like that on this.
Oh yeah, every character looks so radically different from each other. And I think that is because in the post-apocalyptic environment, they don't have to like illustrate a bunch of characters.
Yeah.
So they get to spend a lot of time on the individual characters. What I will say is, love the animation style of the show. The fight scene's fucking amazing. I think the OST is probably
I haven't seen it.
Or the opening theme is probably one of the best.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant OVA. I thought you said OVA.
In all of anime, I think it is one of the best openers. I rank it very highly. Because when that shit starts playing at the end, like whenever they're fucking battling the anti-spirals, your dick literally gets so fucking hard, bro. It's insane.
Wait, what's the other... Oh, man, we forgot to mention this. Like, the fucking stupid-ass move names that get shouted out.
What do you mean? The move names? Oh, like the fucking Giga Drill?
Yeah, like explosive universe-destroying Giga Drill. Like, they always have these move names that aren't real. They're just made up, you know? It's so crazy.
Well, everything's made up. I think that's the fucking point. But no, he uses the fucking Giga Drill like 1 billion times. That's his ultimate move.
What is the transition between, like, commercials?
Oh, it's row, row, fight the power.
Row, row, fight the power.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally just exactly what it is, right? Yeah, I fucking love this show. I think everything about this show... I mean, the studio wasn't very big, I want to say, whenever... Like, the team they used to make this wasn't necessarily, like, huge or anything like that, but based upon the success of this anime, it turned into Studio Trigger, which is now... I feel like every time Studio Trigger releases something, you know, it's always topical in the anime community. And it's because of this anime. And also Kill la Kill. But I love this one way more than I love Kill la Kill. I don't think that... I think Brandon prefers Kill la Kill.
I mean, I like both. I wouldn't necessarily say one
is better than the other.
I prefer one than the other.
Well,
I've also heard that this show is either had similar people working on it or was directly inspired by or was like a response to Neon Evangelion. You know? I've heard that it's like
maybe, but
I've heard that there are a
I could
lot
definitely
of
see it be a
parallels.
response. I don't know
There's
if
a lot
it was
of parallels.
worked on by
as
the same
opposed
people.
to like I said,
Very different vibe, because that one is much more serious.
It's all about despair in the other one, and like hopelessness, and fighting against powers that you can't really comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one is about blasting past all that shit and having hope and conquering it through teamwork and friendship and shit. So, but like I said, all Gundam anime is the same shit. It's about kids, the new generation, right, that are being forced to fight in wars that are created by their fathers or their ancestors, and whether or not they can overcome those sort of things. But I just like this interpretation is my favorite. And I love, like I said, I grew up, one of the first animes I watched was fucking Gundam Wing on Toonami. And I fucking love Gundam Wing so much.
I was never into Gundams. I think that's why I like Gurren Lagann, because it doesn't take it so seriously.
I think this is like the first mech media that I liked.
Fooly Cooly? No, it's not really mech, is it? It's
yeah. I did rewatch that recently. Pretty good.
Because of the
FLCL?
sequel or whatever? Or the...
Yeah, I haven't watched the
Follow-up?
sequels, but I rewatched the original.
The other YouTuber that I checked out that I really liked what his videos was, his name's Alec Zandxr. So I guess Alexander but it's
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
AlecZandXR. So anyway, he's got a lot. He's got like 5 videos on Gurren Lagann on YouTube.
He's a fan, I guess.
One is called The Underappreciated Maturity of Gurren Lagann.
Speaking of other terrible things that Studio Trigger might or might have done, so they did Kill a Kill right after this, I think.
Talking about Darling in the Franxx or whatever?
Dude, despite the fact that Zero Two still remains, I think the internet's
I
top
never-
waifu.
I never watched it because I heard it ended badly.
So I watched the whole thing because, every time Studio Trigger puts something out, because of Gurren Lagann, I just watch it because, I'm a fucking piece of shit.
You're just paying that debt forever.
I am, because I'm trying to chase that same fucking high that I got when watching Gurren Lagann for the first time, but it's just you can't hit that nut, bro. It's too good. So Kill a Kill is sort of, it's not the same. There are a lot of elements of it that are similar. It's all
There's
like
a lot of similarities.
There's coming
for
of
sure.
age and like scaling of plot progression and power and stuff like that. And I love Kill a Kill. So Franks, the problem with that is I think they were really trying to recapture the magic of Gurren Lagann.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, except the slight difference is that I don't want to turn this into a Studio Trigger podcast, but they focused a little bit too much on like, one of the strengths of Gurren Lagann is the interpersonal relationships between Simone and all the members of Team Daiguren and how they make them stronger as a person. They went a little too spicy on that one, and they tried to make the connection between the main character and the female main character, like the focal point of the entire series. And it just fucking, I don't know. It starts off really good, and then it just gets fucking bogged down. And then that series, I definitely feel like they had no fucking idea what they're doing at the halfway point. Because at the halfway point after that, that's how you said that they wanted to end it at Lordgenome? I think Darling and the Franxx, they were like, okay, we're going to end it at this point. But then someone like either pushed them to produce more, or I don't know, because the second half of that shit is just fucking so terrible.
Well, and according to that same YouTuber, again, I can't remember which one it was, apparently like all the people working on Gurren Lagann were also like really young and kind of brash and sort of just, they reflected the characters in the anime is what this guy was saying. Like,
so you're telling me we're never recapturing that because they're getting old?
Yes.
They're going to get set in their ways.
Well,
yeah, they're too old now.
You got to learn the lesson.
Get out of the way.
Gurren Lagann, hire young writers.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's impossible. Like, in my opinion, Gurren Lagann's like fucking lightning in a bottle, bro. It's just, there's nothing like it. I can't think of I've watched a good amount of anime, but there's no anime that's like Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, I feel that way about, so, I don't know, when I finished Gurren Lagann, and this happens all the time whenever I finish, like, a book series that I really love, or like a movie. You know that feeling you get when you hit the end of the series and you're never going to get to experience that again for the first time? And that shit is just fucking over. It's like a melancholy.
It's a little depressing.
Dude, at the end of that, like, coupled with that, like, and the kind of sad ending, that shit hit me hard, bro.
I never feel that unless I don't have anything else to watch, and I usually can find something else.
Yeah, but then you're just trying to replace
there's always
that.
more stuff, but when it's one of your favorites, it's hard to reach that same level.
For sure. I
That's
mean,
true.
I would say Game of Thrones was that for me for a long time.
Well, Game of
No,
Thrones
it got
ended
so
like
fucked,
shit,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it didn't
Yeah.
hit me emotionally at all.
It did slowly trail off towards the end, which is a good way for you to not feel that way, I guess.
Yeah,
you're right.
I'm sure if we got a real ending, yeah, that shit would have been sad. But instead, I'm just like, wow, I can't wait for
Watchmen?
the books because that was whack.
That season of Watchmen on HBO, like when that ended, I was like, God damn, I want more of that shit. But
The thing is, though, I don't know. I love Watchmen, and I love
that series
Lovecraft
is
Country.
perfect.
But it just didn't hit me the same way because, I don't like that form of storytelling as much as I like Gurren Lagann,
I
because
love Watchmen.
I don't, how I don't like it whenever people try and put, it's not that I don't like it, when people try and put like, overtly like political or like topical stuff into their work. But for something like the Watchmen series or Lovecraft Country, it's like such a core part of the identity of the show, right?
Yes.
I prefer it to be closer.
But you love Captain America, and that's extremely political.
Yeah, no, that is true. So
It's like that thing I just sent to y'all recently with the guy complaining, why are they making Captain America so political now?
dude, his name is fucking Captain America.
God, you're an idiot.
But the thing about Captain, I never get those feelings about like, I don't know. Reading comics doesn't give me that really either. And I've read some pretty good comics too.
I was going to say, not nearly as good as Gurren Lagann, but I really, really did enjoy watching it. And it has similar themes about like the youth being, like they're the right mindset, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also silly is Assassination Classroom. I
You keep
finished that.
talking about this, but
Yeah,
I
I've never
finished it.
actually watched it, but
Dude, I think it's worth, I would say that there are some skips. Like, we said there's no skips. Or I said there's no skips in Gurren Lagann. There are some episodes that you don't need. It meanders a little bit, but I think overall it's really fun and wholesome and has a similar attitude towards like, let the youth take over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's really good. And it's really cool when you find out, the teacher, what he actually is when you find out is actually really interesting in my opinion.
like Cthulhu.
No. When you find out like who he is and what his real
Purposes?
goal is and his purpose, yeah, it's actually really cool. Like, why is he such a passionate teacher? Why is he trying to destroy the earth?
Yeah.
When you figure that out, it's really cool.
I don't know. The thing is, I've seen a lot of media that I would rate as, I guess, I don't know, in a lot of different categories better than Gurren Lagann. And even
Sure.
anime, I would say, some that hits a lot of things better than Gurren Lagann does. But I just don't ever enjoy them as much as I did watching
I
Gurren
would
Lagann
say,
the first time.
I don't know. I would say Gurren Lagann is, like I said, pretty fucking good. Like, it sticks to its themes really well, and
Very
it's
unapologetic.
It's a really tight circle.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that is negative about it, and I brought it up, and it really sounds small, but I do think it actually is a problem. Is the over sexualization of Yoko, and I really do think it's a problem because honestly, I hear it from my young students. It's a barrier. Young girls do not want to watch when they see titties bouncing, they are immediately like, no, I'm not watching that. And so,
I agree that taking it out would just be a pure improvement.
That's what I'm saying. I think that it really is a barrier for some people to watch the show. And that's not good because they're not going to get to see that cool message and story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. And it also,
I would
it's
argue
going to,
that, I don't even know.
it could also bring in idiotic pervs and introduce them to this positive message, which I guess is good. But
I think there's some things that are so ingrained into like anime tropes and stuff.
sure.
That are so ingrained, it's never going away.
But like I said, 98% great. I love it all. But then I think that really is a barrier. Like there are some females who are not going to, and even males. I didn't want to watch it for the longest time because of that shit. So
I mean, it doesn't stop me because I know the nature of anime, I guess. And so I know that there can be more past that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would not be saddened if it stopped happening.
Dude, you're just fucking crying in a corner.
Someone would be.
Why'd they take away her?
Yeah, I'm sure some weaves would complain.
Yeah,
God
I don't
damn
really
it.
care
Like,
about that shit.
obviously, someone likes it or they wouldn't do it. But
Yeah, like I
God damn
said,
it.
it doesn't bother me, but I think it's because, I've just accepted it. Maybe that's a me problem.
Categories. This series is a little different, but I think that arcs. I think all of our characters have really interesting arcs. I think.
yeah, that's tough.
I really
like. I do think we have chosen the best 3.
Oh yeah. I think I agree hands down. Yeah, I mean I think it's incremental the difference of how good these characters are.
They're all incredible characters with very just good arcs,
And they're all tied together as well.
They're there from the beginning to the end. Sometimes we have issues with that, like somebody has a shorter arc or a longer arc, but that's not really the case.
And I think that is why it was smart to not do Kamina.
Yeah, Kamina would have. I don't think he's the best character. I think he's an essential character, but I don't think he's the best.
Kamina's awesome. I mean, he's the impetus for the whole development of most of the characters. But
he doesn't have that pure passion. Also, doesn't have sustainability. You know.
I see that.
So you have to have a little. You have to be a little bit reserved. You can't be complete passion. And in the end, I mean, dying doesn't serve your cause necessarily, right? You got to be able to survive too. So, what about aesthetic? I don't know, that whole Imperial Storm, fucking Grand Moff Tarkin look that Rossiu takes on later on. Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily care that much for his aesthetic, but he's fine.
I like what they did with Simone. How he looks like a fucking giant dweeb at the beginning, but as he gets,
just the cool cloak and glasses.
Yeah, he takes Kamina's cloak, and then after he time skips, and then at the very end, he becomes almost like a fusion of Kamina and himself.
Yeah. No, at the very end, he's like a nomad.
Oh yeah,
with the drill staff. That's just
insane.
Cool.
Yeah.
It is kind
for
of
appearance. I'll say Lordgenome is jacked AF. So
he's a big boy.
Lordgenome is pretty wild looking.
Can we also talk about what is with?
And then also the Futurama look is also pretty insane. Becoming a weapon at the end is also pretty fucking crazy. I don't know
his head on the end of the drill.
I don't know if that's a positive to his aesthetic, is how wild he is, or if it's not. But I would say between Simone and Lordgenome, y'all can figure it out.
What I don't get is
what is the aesthetic we like better?
The artists at Studio Trigger felt the need to so thoroughly illustrate nipples on all of their characters, even in these intense action scenes,
oh yeah,
it's just always very defined on all their characters.
Jostling titties and nipples and all that shit. Yeah,
that's just what they like. But even on the dudes,
yep,
it's not even just the women. I mean, Simone at the end, you can very clearly see just heavily illustrated and inked nipples. I'm like, man, we couldn't. And it's just a couple of frames of an action scene where he's fucking screeching or some shit. I'm like, what is going on here? Why can't I see this?
What do y'all think for aesthetic?
I mean, the Simone outfit is very iconic for the series.
Oh yeah,
and
at the end, like I said, when he gets the star sunglasses and he's fucking powering up,
and thematic about how he's adopted a bit of Kamina into his own self. It's not just
true.
I mean, that's thematic too. All right, we can go with Simone.
Yeah.
Like we said, arc is really good. 3-dimensional. I mean, yeah, they all.
I think that applies to all of them.
They all have motivations that make sense, and
they have strong motivations. They're actionable on all their motivations. They take steps to fulfill.
Honestly, Simone is a little less 3-dimensional, I would say,
just
because
he changes the most. But
I think
he's a product of other people upon him, right?
Yeah, I think he's the most simple.
He's so hopeful. He doesn't have these normal human inner conflicts as much.
There are 3 phases of Simone. There is before Kamina's death, immediately after Kamina's death, and then
the rest of the series.
Yeah,
yeah. Once he becomes Buddha, he's just enlightened, and he doesn't ever turn back.
Yeah.
Oh, he does not waver at all.
Which is amazing. I mean, here's the thing: you need him to do that for the theme of the show.
Oh
you need him to do
it's
that.
Awesome.
Otherwise, they would never be able to defeat the anti-spirals.
But is it realistic? I mean, I guess that's George Washington.
Not. It's
Which
not
is what I'm
George
saying.
Washington.
There are George Washingtons that exist that can give up power and that can do that shit. So,
as far as the progression of the characters, like I said, the 3 of them are very similar to each other. So
yeah,
but they all traveled a very similar path and ended at different results.
I get that.
They all get punched at one point. Kamina punches Simone.
Yeah.
I think Simone punches Lordgenome. Simone also punches Rossiu.
And
Rossiu. Yeah.
Like I said, I love all these characters. It's hard for me to say.
I'm ready to pick my number one.
I'm ready.
So we're talking about what? Best character that's not Buddha?
Just overall.
Okay, excellent.
You ready?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm always ready.
3, 2, 1.
Simone?
Simone.
We all picked Simone.
I knew that was. I knew that was going to be the result.
He's just, I don't know. I think he's my ideal protagonist.
In a way, there's like a lot of similarities
Harry Potter?
between. No. Fuck Harry Potter. But I was going to say between him and like Naruto.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But Simone is just done in such a much better way.
Yeah.
He is.
But am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong
They're
at all.
two characters that came from like
Came
from nothing, had
Here's
no
the deal.
one, but just have this unwavering
Here's the deal.
sense of like
Yes, passion
motivation
and drive.
and loyalty to their friends,
And also like hope.
yeah.
Hope. Here's
So like
the thing.
core
you
of the
right.
characters are the same, but this is so much better.
You are right, except that Naruto. So like Simone is like simple, and he lets other people's ideas like graft onto him. Naruto is literally just a fucking idiot.
To be fair, Simone does let other people's ideas graft onto him, but one of the most important
Which is
things
good, though.
that
But
Kamiya
you
was
want
trying
that.
to tell him at the beginning is that it's within you the entire time. That's like the theme of the whole show, right? The reason they
sure.
have spiral energy is because they have double helix DNA. Like you don't
Right.
question the science because that's not going to make sense. But when we
Well-
think about within the context of the show, it's
And the Jinchuriki is within Naruto the whole time. So I mean, it's the same character basically.
but the Jinchuriki was implanted
I'm
into
just
him, right?
I'm just
Simone
kidding, yeah.
was a human. He was a spiral warrior the entire time.
Yeah.
So I just
No,
want to
but
make that
I
distinction.
also- I
Like,
don't
yes,
think-
he did take ideas and he's supported by his team, but he is also
What-
Simone the Digger the whole time, and that's what
I think
makes him
him
powerful.
being simple and allowing things to be grafted on him is in the light of the writers. I think is a positive attribute.
Yeah, I agree.
Being able to change and learn from others is a positive thing.
What I'm
Well,
saying is
okay.
the thing that makes him different from everybody else is he is willing to make those small progressive steps forward always. That's why he's a digger.
Naruto is hard headed.
Let me just read this line from the Gurren Lagann fandom page that I've been using to reference.
Yeah.
Nice.
Under powers and abilities, I'm on the Lordgenome page.
Yeah.
The only human said to possess more power than Lordgenome is Simone due to his limitless spiral power.
What the
That's
fuck?
basically the Jinchuriki.
He's got the nine
Limitless
tails, bro.
chakra. Yeah.
I can't believe it. We did it again. We figured out who the best character is in whatever we're talking about, despite the podcast being called Your Favorite Character Sucks. Now the only question is, what should we do next? You can help us decide by following us at YFCS Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and telling us which show, movie, series, book you think we should do. Until then, hit that subscribe button and catch us on the next episode. Thanks for listening.